Hello, my listening squirrels. Sorry if you hear my washing machine going. I tried to close that door and then it popped back open. So you'll probably hear some crazy noises. Thing's old as the 1986, but still going, knock on wood. We're at chapter 7 in year 2 of Anne of Windy Poplars. And Anne's writing a letter. She says, I guess. Windy Poplars, January 5th, a street where ghosts, and she's got in parentheses, should walk. My esteemed friend. And then she said, that isn't anything Aunt Chatty's grandmother wrote. It's only something she would have written if she'd thought of it. I've made a New Year resolution to write sensible love letters. Yep. Do you suppose such a thing is possible? I have left dear Green Gables, but I have returned to dear Windy Poplars. Rebecca Dew had a fire lighted in the tower room for me and a hot water bottle in the bed. I'm so glad I like Windy Poplars. It would be dreadful to live in a place I didn't like, that didn't seem friendly to me, that didn't say, I'm glad you're back. Windy Poplars does. It's a bit old-fashioned and a bit prim, but it likes me. And I was glad to see Aunt Kate and Aunt Chatty and Rebecca Dew again. I can't help seeing their funny sides, but I love them well for all that. Rebecca Dew said such a nice thing to me yesterday. She said, Spooks Lane has been a different place since you came here, Miss Shirley. I'm glad you liked Catherine Gilbert. She was surprisingly nice to you. It's amazing to find how nice she can be when she tries. And I think she is just as much amazed at it herself as anyone else. She had no idea it would be so easy. It's going to make so much difference in school, having a vice you can really work with. She's going to change her boarding house, and I've already persuaded her to get that velvet hat and have not yet given up hope of persuading her to sing in the choir. She's working wonders with that girl. Mr. Hamilton's dog came down yesterday and chivied Dusty Miller. This is the last straw, said Rebecca Dew, and with her red cheeks redder still, her chubby back shaking with anger, and in such a hurry that she put her hat on hindsight before and never knew it, she toddled up the road and gave Mr. Hamilton quite a large piece of her mind. I can just see his foolish, amiable face when he was listening to her. I do not like that cat, she told me, but he is ours, and no Hamilton dog is going to come here and give him impudence in his own backyard. He only chased your cat in fun, said Jabez Hamilton. The Hamilton ideas of fun are different from the Macomber ideas of fun, or the McLean ideas of fun, or if it comes to that, the Dew ideas of fun, I told him. Tut, tut, you must have had cabbage for dinner, Miss Dew, said he. No, I said, but I could have had. Mrs. Captain Macomber didn't sell all her cabbages last fall and leave her family without any because the price was so good. There are some people, says I, that can't hear anything because of the jingle in their pocket, and I left that to sink in. But what could you expect from a Hamilton, low scum? There is a crimson star hanging low over the white storm king. I wish you were here to watch it with me. If you were, I really think it would be more than a moment of esteem and friendship. Whoa, romance. January 12th, little Elizabeth came over 2 nights ago to find out if I could tell her what peculiar kind of terrible animals Papal, P-A-P-A-L, P-A-P-A-L, bulls were, and to tell me tearfully that her teacher had asked her to sing at a concert the public school is getting up, but that Mrs. Campbell put her foot down and said no, most decidedly. When Elizabeth attempted to plead, Mrs. Campbell said, Have the goodness not to talk back to me, Elizabeth, if you please. Little Elizabeth wept a few bitter tears in the tower room that night and said she felt it would make her Lizzie forever. She could never be any of her other names again. Last week I loved God, this week I don't, she said defiantly. All her class were taking part in the program and she felt like a leopard. I think the sweet thing meant she felt like a leper, and that was sufficiently dreadful. Darling Elizabeth must not feel like a leper. So I manufactured an errand to the Evergreens next evening. The woman, who might really have lived before the flood, she looked so ancient, gazed at me coldly out of the great gray expressionless eyes, showed me grimly into the drawing room, and went to tell Mrs. Campbell that I had asked for her. I don't think there has been any sunshine in that drawing room since the house was built. There was a piano, but I'm sure it could never have been played on. Stiff chairs covered with silk brocade stood against the wall. All the furniture stood against the wall except the central marble table top, a central marble top table, and none of it seemed to be acquainted with the rest. Mrs. Campbell came in. I'd never seen her before. She has a fine sculptured old face that might have been a man's, with black eyes and black bushy brows under frosty hair. She was not quite eschewed all vain adornment of the body, for she wore large black onyx earrings that reached her shoulders. She was painfully polite to me, and I was painlessly polite to her. We sat and exchanged civilities about the weather for a few moments, both, as Tacitus remarked a few thousand years ago, with countenances adjusted to the occasion. I told her truthfully that I had come as she would lend me the Reverend James Wallace Campbell's memoirs for a short time, because I understood there was a good deal about the earthly history of Prince County in them, which I wished to make use of in school. Mrs. Campbell thawed quite markedly, and summoning Elizabeth, told her to go up to her room and bring down the memoirs. Elizabeth's face showed signs of tears, and Mrs. Campbell condescended to explain that it was because little Elizabeth's teacher had sent another note begging that she'd be allowed to sing at a concert, and that she, Mrs. Campbell, had written a very stinging reply which little Elizabeth would have to carry to her teacher the next morning. I do not approve of children of Elizabeth's age singing in public, said Mrs. Campbell. It tends to make them bold and forward. As if anything could make Elizabeth bold and forward. I think perhaps you are wise, Mrs. Campbell, I remarked in my most patronizing voice. In any event, Mabel Phillips is going to sing, and I am told that her voice is really so wonderful that she will make all the others seem as nothing. No doubt it is much better that Elizabeth should not appear in competition with her. Mrs. Campbell's face was a study. She may be a Campbell outside, but she was Pringle at the core. She said nothing, however. I knew the psychological moment for stopping. I thanked her for the memoirs and came away. The next evening, when little Elizabeth came to the garden gate for her milk, her pale, flower-like face was literally a star. She told me that Mrs. Campbell had told her she might sing after all if she were careful not to let herself get puffed up about it. You see, Rebecca Dew had told me that the Phillips and the Campbell clans have always been rivals in the matter of good voices. You knew that. Well, she said Rebecca Dew told her. I gave Elizabeth a bit of a picture for Christmas to hang above her bed, just a light dappled woodland path leading up a hill to a quaint little house among some trees. Elizabeth says she's not so frightened now to go to sleep in the dark, because as soon as she gets into bed, she pretends that she's walking up the path to the house, and that she goes inside and it's all lighted and her father is there. Poor darling. I can't help detesting that father of hers. Wet the whistle time. January 19th. There was a dance at Carrie Pringle's last night. Catherine was there in a dark red silk with the new side flounces, and her hair had been done up by a hairdresser. Would you believe it? People who had known her ever since she came to teach in Summerside actually asked one another who she was when she came into the room. But I think it was less the dress and hair that made the difference in some indefinable change in herself. Always before, when she was out with people, her attitude seemed to be, these people bore me. I expect I bore them, and I hope I do. But last night, it was as if she'd been set lighted candles in all the... as if she had set lighted candles in all the windows of her house of life. I've had a hard time winning Catherine's friendship, but nothing worthwhile is ever easy come by, and I have always felt that her friendship would be worthwhile. Aunt Chatty has been in bed for 2 days with a feverish cold and thinks she may have the doctor tomorrow in case she's taking pneumonia. So Rebecca Dew, her head tied up in a towel, has been cleaning the house madly all day to get it in perfect order before the doctor's possible visit. Now she's in the kitchen ironing Aunt Chatty's white cotton nightie with the crochet yoke so that it will be ready for her to slip over her flannel one. It was spotlessly clean before, but Rebecca Dew thought it was not quite a good color from lying in the bureau drawer. January 28th. January so far has been a month of cold gray days with an occasional storm whirling across the harbor and filling Spook's Lane with drifts. But last night we had a silver thaw, and today the sun shone. My maple grove was a place of unimaginable splendors. Even the commonplaces had been made lovely. Every bit of wire fencing was a wonder of crystal lace. Rebecca Dew has been poring this evening over one of my magazines containing an article on types of fair, F-A-I-R, women, illustrated by photographs. Wouldn't it be lovely, Miss Shirley, if someone could just wave a wand and make everybody beautiful? She said wistfully. Just fancy my feelings, Miss Shirley, if I suddenly found myself beautiful. But then, with a sigh, if we were all beauties, who would do the work? Gotta love Rebecca Dew. And that is all of Chapter 7, so we'll be on Chapter 8 tomorrow. And today is Saturday. So live is at 3 today. Tea at 3. And I'm planning on doing the StreamYard thing. So anybody that wants to come up on the screen with me can do that. I hope I can manage it. I did a little test the other day, so maybe I can remember what I learned. I think I can. Y'all have a great day, and hope to see you at 3. Love ya. Be sweet. Don't be ugly. Bye.